The Las Vegas Strip was once sold as the ultimate bargain in American tourism, a place where visitors could find a $9.99 buffet, $49 hotel rooms, and enough cheap thrills to make anyone feel like a high roller. But step onto the Strip in 2025, and that dream feels like a cruel joke. A cocktail that used to cost a few dollars now runs $25 or more. A weekend hotel stay that once cost under $100 can now climb to $400 or $500 a night after fees. Even basic attractions, parking your car, grabbing a snack, or seeing a show, feel like luxury purchases. Behind the neon glow, the Strip has quietly transformed into one of the most overpriced stretches of pavement in America. And the shocking truth is this isn't just about inflation. It's about deliberate strategies, hidden charges, and billion-dollar projects designed to squeeze every last cent from visitors. Locals say they avoid the Strip altogether. Tourists complain they're being nickel and dimed at every turn, and yet the casinos and corporations keep reporting record profits. So how did the Las Vegas Strip, once America's most affordable playground, become a place where every sip, every meal, and every night's stay feels like a high-stakes gamble? And more importantly, who is really paying the price? The Las Vegas Strip has always been more than a street. It's a symbol of America's promise of escape. For decades, the Strip thrived by offering cheap thrills, $10 buffets, affordable hotel rooms, and entertainment that felt like a steal. In the 1990s, the Strip was known as the place where average Americans could live like royalty for a weekend. But the landscape in 2025 tells a story of staggering transformation. According to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, nearly 39.2 million people visited in 2024, down from the record highs of 42.9 million back in 2016. Yet despite fewer visitors, the Strip has never been more profitable. The numbers are jaw-dropping. Strip gaming revenue hit $8.9 billion in 2024, a slight dip compared to pre-pandemic peaks, but casinos aren't worried because gambling is no longer the main engine. For the first time in history, non-gaming revenue, food, beverage, entertainment, and fees accounts for more than half of all Strip income. The average daily hotel rate in Las Vegas reached $198 in 2024, with weekends surging well past $380, especially during events like the Formula One Grand Prix or major concerts at the Sphere. By comparison, just a decade earlier, the average room hovered around $120. That's nearly a 70% increase in less than 10 years. And it's not just hotel prices. Visitors now spend more on food and entertainment than on gambling. Reports show that the average tourist drops $540 per trip on non-gaming activities compared to just $370 on gaming. Cocktails that once cost a few bucks are now $20, $25, while a single show ticket can easily exceed $200. The Strip has become a place where every moment carries a price tag, and that price tag keeps climbing. The paradox is clear: fewer visitors are coming, yet they're spending more money than ever. Corporations have shifted from chasing crowds to chasing wallets, focusing on wealthier tourists and convention goers. That strategy may boost short-term profits, but it's reshaping the Strip into something unrecognizable for ordinary Americans. What was once a playground for the masses is slowly morphing into an exclusive zone where only the well-off can afford to play. The question is, if the Strip was built on the promise of accessibility, what happens when the very people who made it thrive are priced out? The transformation of the Strip didn't creep in quietly. It came crashing down in waves of sticker shock that left both locals and tourists stunned. The first shock was the death of the cheap buffet, a tradition that defined Las Vegas for generations. In the 1990s and 2000s, visitors lined up for shrimp cocktails, prime rib, and bottomless desserts for under $10. But today, those buffets are either gone or completely reinvented. The legendary Bacchanal Buffet at Caesar's Palace now charges $79.99 per person, and luxury spreads at resorts like the Wynn push closer to $100. What was once a symbol of generosity is now an upscale experience reserved for those willing to spend a small fortune on a single meal. Then came the hidden charges. Tourists booking $19 hotel rooms discovered only at checkout that resort fees of $40–60 per night had been tacked on fees that don't even cover anything tangible beyond Wi-Fi and gym access. Once upon a time, parking on the Strip was free, a gesture meant to keep visitors coming back. Now most major casinos charge $15–25 a day, turning even the act of arriving into a costly transaction. For families driving in from California, that means hundreds of dollars before they even set foot inside a casino. The gaming floor also delivered a rude awakening. In the past, gamblers at least felt they had a fair shot at beating the odds. But the introduction of Triple Zero Roulette, a table with not just one or two, but 3 green zero slots slashed player odds dramatically. Yet casinos marketed it as innovation, hoping most players wouldn't notice. For the casual gambler, this meant losing money faster while casinos collected bigger profits. The feeling of betrayal was palpable. Not only was the Strip charging more, it was giving less. Entertainment, once a bargain for visitors who couldn't afford Broadway or the West End, also skyrocketed. Average ticket prices for major shows now range from $125 down to $250, while VIP packages soar into the thousands. Even iconic Cirque du Soleil productions, once accessible to families, have become luxury outings. A couple can easily spend over $500 for one night of entertainment before food and drinks are even factored in. Food and drinks delivered the next blow. A simple cocktail can now cost $25–30 at a strip bar, while steakhouse dinners routinely top $200 per person. For younger tourists used to hearing their parents brag about cheap Vegas trips, the reality feels more like robbery. Social media posts capturing receipts from Strip restaurants routinely go viral with comments like, "I could have gone to Paris for this bill." Each of these shocks builds on the last, creating a new reality where the Strip isn't designed for everyone, but for a select few. Locals feel alienated, tourists feel tricked, and corporations justify it all by pointing to record revenues. But beneath the glittering profits, resentment is growing. And so, the question becomes unavoidable: are these rising prices just temporary shocks tied to inflation and global trends? Or are they deliberate moves designed to transform the Strip into a playground only for the rich? Beneath the flashing billboards and million-dollar light shows the most revealing stories about the Strip come from the people living and working in its shadow. They're not the high rollers sipping champagne in VIP suites. They're the bartenders, dealers, servers, and ordinary tourists who feel the squeeze of rising costs every single day. Their voices expose the human side of the Strip's expensive transformation. Talk to a cocktail waitress at a mid-tier resort, and she'll tell you her tips have dropped nearly 40% in the last 5 years. Customers don't order as much, she admits. They see the price on the menu, $25 for a basic drink, and they stop after one. That means fewer tips for me. My rent went up $600 in 3 years, but my income stayed the same. For workers like her, the Strip's price hikes aren't just a corporate strategy, they're personal devastation. Then there are the tourists who arrive expecting cheap thrills, only to leave with maxed-out credit cards. A visitor from Ohio described how a 3-day trip for her family of 4 ballooned to nearly $3,000. "We used to come every summer because it was affordable," she said. "Now it feels like a scam. Resort fees, parking fees, overpriced food. By the end of the trip, we felt cheated." Online forums are full of similar complaints, with many first-time visitors swearing they won't return. Locals, too, are speaking out. For years, residents avoided the Strip except when hosting out-of-town friends. But now, even that's becoming impossible. "I wanted to treat my parents to a dinner at the Strip," one lifelong Vegas local confessed, "but the bill was more than my car payment. We ended up canceling. The Strip isn't for us anymore. It's only for tourists with money to burn." The separation between the city's residents and its most famous street has never felt wider. Even insiders from the corporate side quietly admit the model is changing. One casino employee, who asked not to be named, revealed that management openly encourages targeting wealthier tourists and convention-goers rather than middle-class families. "They say it's about maximizing profit per guest," he explained. But the truth is, they're pricing out the exact people who built this city's reputation. We're told to focus on fewer guests who spend more, even if that means losing millions of regular visitors. International tourists have also begun to voice their frustration. Travelers from Canada and Mexico complain about the American-style hidden fees they weren't warned about, while Chinese tourists, once some of the Strip's biggest spenders, say Las Vegas now feels more expensive than Macau or Singapore. That's a shocking comparison considering Vegas built its global dominance on affordability. The most striking part of these testimonies is the sense of betrayal. Workers feel abandoned by corporations that use them as pawns in billion-dollar projects. Tourists feel tricked by misleading advertising and endless add-ons. Locals feel erased from their own city. Together, their stories reveal a Strip that's no longer designed for joy and escape, but for relentless profit extraction. And if the people closest to the Strip, the ones who serve live and spend there, are already waving red flags, then what else is happening behind the scenes that the public hasn't been allowed to see? When visitors complain about the Strip being too expensive, they often point to the obvious sky-high hotel rates, outrageous food prices, and endless fees. But what most people don't see is that some of these costs have already been dragged into courtrooms, exposing just how deliberate the Strip's pricing schemes really are. The lawsuits reveal not random inflation, but carefully engineered strategies that corporations fight to protect at all costs. One of the most infamous cases centers on resort fees, the so-called junk fees that hotels quietly tack onto bills. Tourists book a $90 room only to find an extra $50 per night added at checkout. For years, consumer advocates called it deceptive advertising. In 2023, the Federal Trade Commission and several state attorneys general launched investigations into major casino operators accusing them of misleading guests. Caesars, MGM, and other giants faced lawsuits demanding greater transparency. While some settlements forced them to disclose fees more clearly, the fees themselves never went away. Why? Because resort fees bring in hundreds of millions annually, making them one of the Strip's most lucrative inventions. Another hidden controversy involves class action lawsuits from tourists who argue that Las Vegas uses bait-and-switch pricing. In these cases, plaintiffs allege that advertised rates don't reflect the final bill after taxes, parking, and mandatory surcharges. Some suits even exposed internal emails, where marketing teams admitted the strategy was designed to appear competitive while ensuring higher revenue at checkout. In plain English, they knew customers would feel tricked, but they did it anyway. Workers, too, have fought back in court. In 2024, several Strip employees filed suits alleging wage theft and unfair scheduling, claiming corporations cut labor costs to offset billion-dollar construction projects like the $2.3 billion Sphere or the Formula One Grand Prix. Leaked documents revealed executives debating how to reallocate expenses to the workforce, essentially pushing the burden of their risky ventures onto the very employees struggling with rising rents. For residents, these revelations confirmed what they had long suspected. The Strip's profits don't just come from tourists, they're also carved out of the paychecks of its own people. Utilities add another layer of secrecy. Local advocacy groups accused Nevada energy companies of colluding with Strip resorts to secure exclusive contracts that lock in inflated rates. Residents claim their summer electric bills, often $300 or more, subsidize power-hungry casinos that run lights, fountains, and air conditioning around the clock. While few of these lawsuits gain national attention, they highlight a disturbing reality. The Strip's luxury is fueled not just by visitors' wallets, but also by the everyday bills of ordinary Nevadans. The biggest secret, however, lies in financial disclosures. For the first time in history, corporate filings revealed that non-gaming revenue now makes up over 50% of total Strip income. This means casinos are no longer gambling halls. With extras on the side, they are entertainment and hospitality machines, where the games are just one piece of the puzzle. Executives openly tell shareholders that the goal is to maximize revenue per guest, rather than attract more guests. To the average tourist, that translates into higher prices for everything from bottled water to show tickets. And yet, much of the true story remains hidden. Court settlements are often sealed, non-disclosure agreements, silence whistleblowers, and regulatory investigations drag on without resolution. The public only sees glimpses of what happens behind closed doors. But those glimpses are damning enough. If lawsuits, whistleblowers, and leaked documents are already revealing a strip built on deception and secrecy, the real question becomes unavoidable: what other truths are still being buried beneath the neon glow? The consequences of the strip's rising costs are already unfolding in ways that threaten the very identity of Las Vegas. For locals, the strip has become a no-go zone. Surveys show that nearly 70% of Las Vegas residents avoid the strip altogether, saying it's simply too expensive to dine, drink, or see a show there. Instead of being a shared landmark between visitors and locals, the strip is morphing into an isolated corridor designed only for outsiders with deep pockets. Small businesses are also paying the price. Independent shops, diners, and off-strip attractions struggle to compete with mega resorts that can absorb rising costs while passing them on to tourists. When local businesses shut down, residents lose more than jobs. They lose the sense of community that once gave Las Vegas its soul. The strip may still glow with billion-dollar marquees, but the neighborhoods surrounding it are left darker and emptier. Tourism patterns are shifting too. Middle-class families, once the bread and butter of Vegas tourism, are visiting less often. Many complain that a weekend trip now rivals the cost of an international vacation. A family from California that once spent $600 for 3 nights now spends over $1,500 for the same trip, leading many to choose destinations like Mexico, Hawaii, or even Europe instead. Online reviews increasingly describe the Strip as not worth it, a dangerous perception for a city that lives and dies by its reputation. The international market tells a similar story. Canadian and Mexican tourists, who made up a large share of weekend visitors, are pulling back, citing unfavorable exchange rates compounded by high Strip prices. Meanwhile, Asian tourists, once courted aggressively, are choosing cheaper alternatives like Macau or Singapore, where at least the fees are transparent. If these trends continue, the Strip risks alienating not only its domestic base, but also its global appeal. Looking ahead, 2 stark futures emerge. The first is grim. If corporations continue prioritizing short-term profits over accessibility, the Strip could evolve into a luxury-only zone, a playground for the wealthy, convention-goers, and high rollers. Ordinary Americans will be shut out, leaving Vegas with fewer visitors overall, but higher spending per guest. While this might sustain profits for a time, history offers a warning. Atlantic City once tried the same strategy, and its collapse left behind empty casinos and broken communities. The second future, though, less certain, offers hope. If regulators step in to curb hidden fees, if city leaders push for affordable housing and transparent pricing, and if corporations realize the long-term risk of alienating the masses, the Strip could strike a balance between profitability and accessibility. This would require a conscious effort to restore trust and affordability, something that many locals and tourists doubt will happen, but still desperately hope for. In the end, the future of the Strip comes down to one haunting question: is there still enough time to save Las Vegas from becoming a glittering ghost town of broken promises? The Las Vegas Strip was once the place where ordinary Americans could feel extraordinary, where cheap buffets, bargain hotel rooms, and flashing lights created the illusion of luxury for everyone. But that promise has been broken. Today, the Strip is no longer a playground for the masses, but a maze of hidden fees, overpriced meals, and sky-high hotel rates designed to squeeze every last dollar out of visitors. Locals avoid it. Tourists feel betrayed, and yet the corporations behind the neon keep reporting record profits. What we've uncovered is bigger than just price tags. It's about identity. The Strip was built as the beating heart of Las Vegas, a place where community tourism and affordability collided to create something magical. Now it feels like the soul of the Strip has been sold off bit by bit for the sake of short-term profit. Workers are exhausted, families are priced out, and tourists leave wondering why they didn't just book a trip to Mexico, Europe, or Hawaii instead. And so, the question falls to all of us: if even the Las Vegas Strip, once America's most affordable escape, has become too expensive for ordinary people, what does that say about the future of the American dream? Because maybe Las Vegas isn't an exception, it's a warning. And if the Strip can fall, how long before other cities across America follow the same path?